In the early 1990s, the country of Zambia in southern Africa had one of the continent's best soccer teams, with high hopes for qualifying to the 1994 World Cup. But on one tragic day, 18 members of the squad were killed in a plane crash while on the way to a match. Left to rebuild was Zambia's star player, Kalusha Bwalya, who was not on the plane that day. For this episode of Rise as One, called Forever Heroes, we travel to Zambia to spend time with Kalusha and tell the story of the improbable journey that followed by two teams who united their country in a time of incredible sorrow.
In the African nation of Zambia, there's no bigger sport than soccer. And in the early 1990s, as the FIFA World Cup neared, the country's national team was one of the continent's very best. The final stages of Zambia's World Cup qualifying campaign were to begin in the spring of 1993, with the national team traveling to Senegal. Kalusha Bwalya, its captain and star player, would not be on the flight. He was playing in Europe and planned to meet his teammates at the match. The team flew on military planes to get across the continent with refueling stops along the way. At their second stop, in Libreville, Gabon, on the West African coast, the pilot reported mechanical issues, but the plane still lifted off. It was just after midnight on April 28, 1993.
Zambia's national football squad have been killed in an air crash. A Zambian Air Force plane crashed shortly after taking off from Libreville, the capital of Gabon. The players were on their way to Senegal for a World Cup game.
She said, "They are no survivors." Yeah. And, from that time I just sat down and I couldn't believe it.
A total of 30 people, including 18 of Kalusha's teammates, as well as 5 coaches, died just off the shores of Gabon.
Then I thought about it. We have to do justice to this injustice, because the boys would have wanted us to go forward.
Tryouts were held across the country, and a new roster was put together, with Kalusha remaining captain. The first World Cup qualifier was held 2 months after the crash, with Zambia hosting Morocco. Little was expected from the new team, but amazingly, with a goal from Kalusha, they defeated Morocco 2-1. Improbably, Zambia's run would continue into their final qualifying game in Morocco, where they needed only a tie to advance to the FIFA World Cup. But a late header put the Moroccans ahead, and they held on to win. Zambia's charge had come up just short.
It was amazing to get that far, but Zambia is like that. I think you have to suffer to win something. I think we are in that situation where we have to suffer to end something.
19 years later, in 2012, the Africa Cup of Nations, the continent's biggest tournament, was being held in Libreville, Gabon, just miles from where the plane had crashed. Kalusha was now president of the Zambian Soccer Federation, and his team was a huge underdog. Still, despite the long odds, they had an extra sense of motivation.
We are thinking in Gabon. Here we come at Gabon. Before we even play first game, we just say we are coming to Gabon.
Zambia had made it to the final, and just before their match, Kalusha took his players to the site where his teammates and coaches had died 19 years earlier.
It was, I think, one of the most incredible things that happened in our lives. I said to myself, we can't reach this far and not carry the cup. And I think that when we came out from there, Zambia was a completely different team.
With the match tied at 0-0 at the end of extra time, the final was decided by penalty kicks.
Destiny has smiled on Zambia. 19 years on, but the scene of their greatest tragedy has become the scene of their most wonderful success.
I've been in football in a long time, but it was my most happiest moment. I was proud to be Zambian.
In Zambia, the heartbreak of April 1993 will always be remembered, but so too will be what came afterwards. A proud nation still finding a way to rise as one.